Hi.
Laurent, hey, how you doing? First of all, love this documentary.
Great.
It
Thank you.
was, I'm such a fan of Jaws, and it being 50 years this Friday. How exciting was it to go into it and look back into the film and how it was made?
Well, 50 years for anyone or anything is a benchmark that's worth celebrating. And when I turned 50, I was wondering, am I still relevant? And in the case of Jaws, I don't think Jaws has anything to worry about. It is still relevant. It still has the same power that it always had. And frankly, I was a little apprehensive in starting this film because so much has been said, so much has been written, including by myself. So I really wanted to dig deeper into the human experience of making Jaws, and particularly through the eyes of the director Steven Spielberg. And when I sat down with him, and he was the first interview I did on this film, uh, um, I knew I had something very special because he took me through so many different layers of what this had meant to him. And in the subsequent interviews I did with him, in the course of the project, we kept going deeper and deeper. And it was fascinating because, everybody laughs. Oh, the shark wasn't working. Ha ha ha. It was so crazy. And they're all laughing. And in fact, it was nothing, laughable at the time. It was something very serious. And so the film became for me a true story of human endeavor, a true story of persistence, and a real human experience about never giving up and believing in your vision and pursuing, a commitment. Something that I think the world is missing today is once you commit, you follow through. And I think therefore my film is a little bit of a morality tale about not giving up. And I hope it does inspire young people who are starting in life to show, a creative endeavor at its worst that becomes, the dream, basically.
Exactly. And when we look at a film like this, there was so much practical effects because back in those days there was no CGI in the way it is now. So there's a lot of technical aspects that you really had to fight through and create because Spielberg had to pretty much and his team had to create from scratch in order to make this movie.
Absolutely. I mean, there was no CGI, so but you didn't know better. So I guess, you just had to go with what you
Yeah.
could do. It's amazing that, it actually worked as well as it did, even though it didn't work well,
Mhm.
because it was a challenge, to put a mechanical anything in the ocean is like probably one of the worst ideas in the world.
Yeah.
So the shark, in a way, became the metaphor in the production. There was the thing that just was the monster for everyone, but it was reflective of what the story was. They were fighting the shark too in the movie.
Yeah.
So it's one of those few rare films where the production is a mirror of the actual story
Mhm.
of Jaws. So I find that fascinating. And that's something else that I never thought about. I'm like, oh my God, you were fighting the mechanical shark while Dreyfus, Scheider, and Shaw were fighting the shark in the movie.
Yeah. And this is one thing I love about this documentary, especially too, we have high school interns this year who are very interested in becoming filmmakers. And I think when they see this, they're going to really take a lot from what was done in the past and bring it into what is done now. And hopefully it teaches them some new tools that they could apply into what they're doing today.
Oh, that's great. I mean, that's my dream, and you'll have to keep me posted because I just think that young people need inspiration and to find a film like Jaws, which is in a sense an origin story. There is cinema before Jaws and there's cinema after Jaws. And
Mhm.
to realize, what was accomplished uh, should be every kid who wants to be a filmmaker sort of lesson. How can I make it dynamic? How can I improve? How can I make this something worth watching? How can I expand on the language of images? That's Jaws.
Yeah. And the course of and being able to work as a team and realizing that these are team efforts. These are not an individual going in and making something and it's just them and everybody follows. This is a collaborative effort. And I think that's really what, and you show this so well in this documentary from the highs and the lows and the challenges.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, speaking of collaboration, I mean, John Williams, gave a voice to the shark otherwise would have been silent, and he gave him a presence, and he made the shark really the sort of almost near supernatural monster that it should be,
Yeah.
because the intention was not to vilify sharks. It was to sort of use the shark as a metaphor for all of our fears, which is the fear of the unknown, the fear of being vulnerable, and it was an unintended consequence that people started really hating sharks. But the beauty is that you had people like Peter Benchley and Wendy Benchley who changed the dialogue and realized, we can't massacre sharks. And today, and I wanted to include that footage in the film, that poor shark that's beached and people trying to put it back into the water. The shark looks like my puppy Molly, I was just like, oh my God, don't kill it. So it's an interesting layer to the story of Jaws, and why it was a perfect home with Nat Geo, because they're so proactive in bringing to people's consciousness the story of ocean. you
Yeah.
know Jaws is the perfect example of that.
Mhm. And it's a perfect link to show the film and to do the science behind it, which you did in
Yeah.
this film, which is so great. Before we let you go, because we don't have that much time left, to do this documentary, 50 years, and then like the growth of it from theme parks to merchandise and everything else that has happened, we have to like one of the theme park items that we got was for Jaws 50th just last week. How fun was it to just explore this world and to see this legacy that's lasted already 50 years?
It's so interesting that Jaws sort of started this fever of wanting to own the movie beyond the screen, go on a ride, to ride the Jaws ride, and to have a T-shirt, to make a statement about the recognition and the love of that experience,
Mhm.
And 2 years later, Star Wars takes that to another level, obviously, in
Mhm.
1977. But Jaws was a phenomenon and a communal kind of experience when people went to the theater to watch this and scream together and be scared together and appreciate this journey together, and then they all wanted to make the statement that they had seen it and loved it and were wearing it. And I just find that so fascinating, because where I come from in Europe, in
Mhm.
France, we didn't have that at all. And so when I moved
Mhm.
to America, I was always wearing a movie t-shirt. I don't anymore, but I was always making a statement about movies and books or things that I loved and wearing it proudly. So that was
Yeah.
Jaws with the origin story again here, in many ways.
Yeah. And Laurent, you did such a great job on this documentary, and also too to see these links with these filmmakers, Lucas, Spielberg, Scorsese, Coppola. Hopefully we'll see a group of directors like that again pretty soon, and what this next generation of the group of directors to bring what Jaws would be like for this generation. So thank you so much, Laurent, for doing this and talking with us, and we look forward to talking with you again soon.
Yeah, Michael, good luck. Have a great summer.
Thanks.